The university makes a big deal about educating the heart and the mind of the students who go here, and that was absolutely evident with all of the things that Ted went through.
I don't think you get into Notre Dame unless you're good. I think Notre Dame takes great kids and makes them better.
Notre Dame is such a tight-knit group and everyone's so close that he knew how much people were praying for him.
If you don't have faith, you're not going to believe in miracles because you can't prove them. But if you have faith, you don't need the explanation. And to me, there were so many things miraculously that had to line up perfectly for Ted to even have a chance.
I met Teddy in 1995. He was 7 years old, and for me it's kind of a special story because Teddy was my first student.
I was, 3/4 all the way through college. I did pretty well in my junior year. I was enjoying life. I had the opportunity to travel down to Texas to do a little hunting with a couple of friends of mine. Then directly right after that, I went home.
We live in Kansas, so it was about a 12-hour drive, and he said that he was feeling really tired, which my parents and I just sort of dismissed because he was tired after a long drive.
We thought initially he had H1N1. We thought he had swine flu and very sick. I mean, he was really ill.
I get this phone call in the morning. Teddy's father. I hear crying because Teddy's not doing well.
The fact that this incredibly athletic, smart, healthy guy could go from great to dead in 48 hours. I just couldn't get my mind around it.
He got sick in early June, and for about the next 4 to 6 weeks, basically he was pretty much in a medically induced coma.
I think 4 times in that entire time, we basically were told he would not be alive 8 hours later. And that's, I mean, anyone who has a child, what's your worst fear?
We learned later he had suffered a stroke at that time, so he basically lost his language too. So imagine waking up in, a hospital bed and you're connected to God knows how many machines, and you can't form the questions. You can't absorb the answers.
Throughout it all, we were all praying for him. I mean, I don't know a person that knew about his situation that wasn't just, praying for him desperately.
Get to the point that the hope and only thing you have left. So what we did here, we have a banner that travels with the team. So I got the banner and delivered to Teddy's family and said, okay, when Teddy gets better, he has to bring this banner back. And we try to create some hope for us.
From the moment that Gia hung that banner in Ted's ICU cubicle, that was the goal. That was the prize that he was keeping his eyes on. The goal was always to go back to Notre Dame. The goal was always to return to fencing, and he never wavered in that.
Essentially, on June 5th of '09, his heart never beat again. He did not have a heart beating in his chest until the transplant of September 15th. They ran every test they could, trying to find out what it was. They did everything, and we will never know.
He had more than 5 serious operations, either giving him new mechanical pumps, changing out old ones, and then ultimately the heart transplant. He went through an awful lot. And every day when we would come into the ICU after one of these major procedures, it was thumbs up by Ted.
The whole ordeal, when I was in the hospital, you know, just being bedridden for almost 3 months. Really, I was just so grateful just to have survived. You know, it was a very gradual process to get healthy, you know, mentally and physically. But thankfully, there was a bunch of wonderful people that helped me.
The physical therapists here were very cognizant of the fact that he was a Div 1 athlete. Their goal was to get him as strong as they could, 1, in order to survive the transplant, but 2, in order to get back to the fencing team at Notre Dame.
I didn't think he'd ever fence again. I said, yeah, you know, we'll be lucky if he can go back to class. He had come back to the fencing gym and where they practiced, and the kids went nuts. First he wore his Notre Dame jacket, he brought the flag back, you know, I mean, it was a big deal.
One of the most triumphant moments I've seen in my life, of him going through all this adversity and still coming back and being healthy and strong within a few months after receiving a heart transplant, was just amazing.
A year before, we would have been happy if he's in a wheelchair being fed through a tube or something. I mean, this was a great moment for us. I mean, the fact that he was back in school, he was fencing, I mean, this was a return to being normal, and it just floored us.
Did you ever think we were going to get here, bud? Nope. That's awesome. It is awesome.
Looked like the biggest wuss. I mean, I was done. I was blubbering mad. Because it was like, hey, he can be normal. He can live a normal life after a heart transplant. And this is why I love sports, okay? It doesn't mean, I mean, in the big picture, it doesn't mean a thing. You know, who's gonna remember 100 years from now one fencing bout? Nobody. Irish! They broke the huddle and Ted had a tear. At that moment, it was really, really big. Ted got behind 2-0, and we're all sitting there going, that's cool. You know, the fact that he's even competing is awesome.
Ted.
Then he tied it up, and it's 4-4, and we're like,
Here, Ted.
That's it.
there's no way he's gonna win this thing. The last touch is still one of the prettiest touches I've ever seen. Beat the kid 5-4, and I was a mess.
Everybody was just cheering so hard, and it was incredible because at that moment we'd come full circle.
I don't think it was a dry eye in a building. And there's a saying, there's no crying in baseball, but there was a lot of crying in fencing that day.
I'm just very happy to be back, you know, as a student and a fencer. The fact that I've survived that it truly is a gift.
When he was admitted to Notre Dame, the big deal there was, hey, you're part of the Notre Dame family. And I was saying, okay, fine, that's, you know, it's a good slogan, you know. I wasn't sure that was real, but from our experience, they're not just saying that. I mean, he's part of their family, and we get treated like family.